let's make a start. So alrighty, so like I was saying before, this is the first unit to do with this qualification. Every unit or subject has this unit descriptor. I'll go through it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, but as we go, it'll help, but we'll go through it anyway. So this unit describes the performance outcomes, skill and knowledge required to use training packages and accredited courses as tools to support industry, organisation and individual competency development needs. What does that mean? Well, that just means that you guys are going to learn how to get a qualification or a particular subject and use that to help, whether it's a company or you're working for someone like us or a group of individuals, helping choose and design these subjects and qualifications to get those people to their end goal. So it's about the fact that if someone owned a company and said, hey, I need you to train all these people up in first aid for our workplace, that you would actually have an ability to go find the first aid course and the first aid subjects, put that together, go back to that company and say, yep, here's our 2-day program or here's our 4-day program. These are the nationally recognized subjects that will get your people to be first aid trained, so you meet your OH&S requirements or your insurance requirements or your industry requirements, whatever that case may be. The second paragraph says that this unit typically applies to a person working or with a training and or assessment organisation. So they're saying that, yeah, you tend to work for someone like us, a training company, as a teacher or as a trainer. We're giving you all the support and infrastructure. You're out there teaching, doing what you need to do your job right. But you're not like an RTO owner, you're someone working within that structure. And it assumes that the person is working from a predefined training package, such as a training package or accredited course, and applying that product to meet clients' needs. That's what tonight's all about. Tonight's about telling you what is a training product or what is a training package versus accredited courses versus units of competence or subjects. So that's what we're all going to go about. Alex, feel free to hit to the next slide. In actual fact, guys, we're not going to play this video now, but I recommend that you do that either tonight or tomorrow or when you get a free chance. It is from another company, but they do a pretty good job at explaining this stuff. As it says here, it's an orientation video. It's designed to, explain some of the basic information. However, the basic information is not basic. It's quite complex. So we're just going to move through that. And we'll get to the next slide. Obviously, if you were watching this from home or you're doing this from home on your own, you would watch that video and then you'd maybe skip through to slide 13. But as we're not, we're going to go through to the next slide. So Alex, feel free to hit that for me, please. So as it says here, the vocational education and training sector is complex. It's an ever-changing world of information and structure. To think by the end of this subject that you'll have a complete handle on the system would be completely unfair to yourself. In actual fact, it's going to take several weeks for you to really embed this information and start to find a place for it in its whole structure. Even during this session, you may start to suffer from information overload if you haven't already died of frustration with our technical difficulties. But don't get stressed. It's a part of the learning deal for this particular qualification. Just remember, as we progress through this course, more of the information that you learn will end up relating back to your area of expertise. As that slide transitions, I'm going to keep on talking. And as it says here, so tonight, won't have much to do with driver training or nursing or any other particular industry or interest this qualification will end up helping you in. But as we progress, it will. It's exactly like I was saying before. You need to remember this information, though. It'll be vital in helping you finish the course. It's an important part of the principles of adult learning, but that's a whole another subject for another day. So just understand that tonight's generic. It's going to be a long way away from what you normally do and expect. But as we go through, it will come back and it will find a home for you. So training, so what we're going to start with now is a bit of a concept and trying to explain the framework to you. So the way qualifications and training packages and everything exists is going to be explained right now. So a training package is a document or a place where all the different qualifications that serve different industries live. For instance, all the qualifications that have anything to do with transport and logistics live in the TLI training package. That's the actual name of it, the TLI training package. From train driving to sailing to becoming a driving instructor, let alone a pilot or a port worker or someone who fixes railway lines themselves. They all those different qualifications live in the TLI training package. And it's the same thing for the HLT training package. Whether you teach first aid, you're a nurse, or you are a reflexologist, all of those qualifications are serviced by and live in the HLT training package. So hopefully you understand now these things called training packages are there for each industry. And within those training packages live all the qualifications that are associated with that industry. Thanks, Al. You can move it on. So as it says here, inside each training package can be hundreds of different qualifications. Qualifications come in all different shapes and sizes. For example, this qualification, the TAE40110 qualification, is from the TAE training package. I suggest after this session or by the weekend and when you get a chance, you'll go to training.gov, and I would like you to try to find any existing qualification you have just to help sort of orientate yourself. At the same time, inside each qualification are their units of competence. Now, units of competence is just a fancy name for subjects. Once upon a time, you enrolled in a course and you did different subjects. Nowadays, you enroll in a course and you do different units of competence. Funny thing is, at the end of the day, from a student's perspective, probably nothing has really changed. They enroll in a course. There's all these different subjects which just happen to be called units of competence. They have a timetable. They turn up. They just do the course. Thanks, Alex. That's perfect. The units of competence that make up each qualification are specifically chosen after much debate and consultation with the matching industry, training providers like us, and any other stakeholders. Stakeholders is just a fancy name for anyone with an interest in the qualification or the workers that qualification produces. So again, for driving instructors, the TSC, the Taxi Services Commission, is a stakeholder. They're the people that license our driving instructors once they've finished our qual. Likewise, hospital boards or hospital management would be a stakeholder in the nursing qualification. If they were noticing that nurses, trainee nurses coming out of the education sector were poorly trained or didn't have enough interest, well, then they would have a strong voice within government and within the vocational education and training sector to say, hey guys, we're not happy with this, we need to do something about it. And that's important because those stakeholders quite often are the people that will end up hiring our clients, our students, and it's important that we're happy with them. So the important thing is you now know that stakeholders are not the person standing beside the guy cooking at the next barbecue you go to, and it's certainly not the dude holding the meat. Thanks, Alex. So qualifications and their units of competency. As previously mentioned, qualifications come in all shapes and sizes, and they are categorised from certificate 1 all the way up to a doctoral degree. We're going to talk about those a little bit later. One thing that is common with Cert 1 all the way up to advanced diploma courses is that they're made up of these units of competence. Some qualifications are made up of core units with no electives, and a classic case of that is the Cert 4 car driving instructor course. It has 11 units in it. None of them are electives. They're all core units. You must do them all and you must pass them all. Other qualifications have core units and elective units that help students specialise or choose particular interests, just like we did at high school. We used to get to about year 10, I think. Year 9, year 10 was when electives would start, and we could then obviously take those electives all the way through high school and end up sort of having quite a specialised year 12 if you went through that far. Other qualifications have a combination of core and elective units that are organised into streams. Thanks, Alex. So these streams are created when a qualification is core to several job roles within an industry or a workplace. And that's really important to keep in the back of your mind. The majority of a qualification will be core to a client's ability to work effectively within the workplace. However, there may be slight but for different job roles within that workplace. So again, you could. I'm going to be ignorant, but I'm going to use this as an example. So I could only imagine, say, for instance, within a hospital ward, you have different nursing staff, and maybe different nursing staff within that ward have specialised training to help work in particular areas. They'll all have a core nursing qualification, and then they'll have little specialised units that they chose along the way to either upskill themselves or side skill themselves to be able to work effectively within that hospital environment. It obviously makes sense that a workplace requiring people to have a baseline of consistent competence, so they're all, Div 1 nurses or Div 2 nurses, whatever the case may be, yet be able to specialise within a field to help that business function successfully is vitally important. Because some workplaces, they say, we need everyone to be at least this level of competence, this level of expertise, but at the same time, we have a bit of a need for others to specialise, and that's going to help everyone. This is where the vocational education and training sector, the VET sector as it's known, is at its most effective. And when it's working right, it does a great job. Thanks, Alex. Here we go. Cool. So training packages, what are they good for? So the whole idea of these training packages, having these qualifications made up of these units, these subjects, is really important, because what that does and what it allows for and what they're good for is that so qualifications can be awarded to a public that have participated in assessment of their competencies. And I'll explain that a little bit later, but pretty much that means that people can enroll in a course, train up and become qualified. It's to allow and encourage the development of training to meet the needs of individuals. So exactly like I said before, there can be a baseline qual, and then you can specialize, or you can say to yourself, I want to become a driving instructor, so I do the driving instructor course. I want to become a nurse, so I do the nursing course. It also, number 3, as it says here, is to encourage educational pathways within workplace settings and environments. So the great thing about training packages is, for a lot of qualifications, you start at Cert 1 as an entry requirement, and then you can work your way up, all the way up to diploma, advanced diploma and beyond, as a part of your vocational, your workplace progression and career that lives and is aided by your educational pathway and progress. And it allows for that great environment. You maybe start at the bottom of the heap and you say, one day I want to be the boss of this place, and by matching your training to future work requirements, you can work your way up the ladder, so to speak. And that's the great thing about vocational education and training. And probably fourth, the greatest asset to anyone is that it allows industries access to individuals that are workforce ready, despite not previously employed in that job role or particular area. And that is so important, because that's what allows people to career change. I did this course when I was 18. Yeah, go for it, Alex. You can move on. I did this course when I was 18. I no longer like it. I think I want to do this. However, you don't have to sacrifice your income and start from the bottom again. You can, while you're still doing that job you don't like, you can go off and do another course, get trained up, and then once you've done that qual, move into the new job, which is exactly what everyone is doing here. All the people doing the TAE course are in other job roles, are doing other qualifications or have other qualifications, and this ability for you to train with us, get this qualification and move straight from this course into industry is perfect. Alrighty, now a little bit more of the nitty-gritty stuff, guys. And like I said, I recommend you go back to the video because that will help. So as seen in the video, there are compulsory endorsed components of a training package. So what that means is this: these training packages have two components. They have endorsed components and non-endorsed components. These endorsed components, which won't make a whole sense right now, are things that can't be changed. They are the absolute benchmark to how these training packages and qualifications are put together. So a part of these endorsed components is what we call the national competency standards. And that's where the skills and knowledge a person must be able to demonstrate at work are defined by industry and packaged into into combinations that form the various qualifications aligned to what we call the AQF, the Australian Qualifications Framework. They're national qualifications, so all qualifications are Cert 1, 2, 3, 4, Diploma and Advanced Diploma are for an industry, and their units of competency are nationally recognised. So you can train here in Victoria, pass, move up to Queensland and happily train in Queensland. After you've been training in Queensland, you find out there's a huge opportunity over in WA. So you move to WA and you train in that area, and your qualification lives with you, because it wasn't that long ago. Funny enough, and I tell you, it's all been it wasn't that long ago that you could do a qualification in Victoria and it was useless in New South Wales. However, it might have been okay in South Australia, but it wasn't recognised in the Northern Territory. So it wasn't that long ago that we sort of said enough is enough. Let's make nationally recognised qualifications. And let's allow people to move and transfer those qualifications across Australia, filling the need for training and job requirements. National guidelines, the requirements for an individual's performance to meet the competency standards. They are designed to ensure judgments made by the people assessing the competence of an individual's performance are valid, reliable, fair, and consistent. So what that just means is really the guarantee of everything I just said, that with these national guidelines, regardless of you training in Victoria or South Australia or wherever the case may be, the qualification is consistent. You as a student will be treated the same anywhere. If you're good enough to pass, you pass. And if you're not good enough, you're able to try to work and improve on that. But it's not like if I do the course in Queensland, I get straight A's. And if I do the course in Victoria with the same amount of effort, I get straight F's. Or competency or non-competency. Thanks, Alex. You can move on. I'm back. Yeah, cool. So when it comes to these qualifications and all these training package rules and these nationally endorsed parts of or endorsed parts of a training package, it's important to remember this. RTOs, registered training organisations like Intelligent Training Solutions, or a TAFE college, whether it's RMIT, which is a university TAFE, or any other private college or public college, are allowed to customise a qualification and their units of competence in order to meet their clients' needs. However, it cannot be a free-for-all, and the integrity of the qualification cannot be compromised as a result of the customization. So that's important. So if we have a company that says to us, hey, we would love to train up our people in this area, you're allowed to say, well, what do you guys particularly do in the job? Let's make sure we're covering that. It may mean that you need to still cover other areas that they don't do, because it's still a really important part of that qualification. And remember, because these people could quit that job tomorrow and go somewhere else to do the same work where they do those other components, it still needs to be included. But we're allowed to customize stuff and adjust it to fit that workplace. So those people wanting to use that qualification for their job role get the most from it. It's no good, and sometimes it's been a bit of a problem with training institutions in the past, is they would go to a business and say, no, we can't teach them like what you want. We're just going to teach them what's in the qual. And of course, that wouldn't help anyone. And businesses became very frustrated with training providers because they were paying for a whole heap of training that really didn't improve their workplace. It was a little bit arrogant on behalf probably of the training providers, and we needed to improve that. So they said, well, you can customize a qualification or a unit of competence to meet your training needs. However, you can't all of a sudden just cut out large parts of the qualification so it becomes compromised. And especially for compromises the health and safety of those that will end up getting that qualification and moving back into the workforce. Um, these are non. Yeah, so so as it says, you can customize the training parts and the assessment parts of a qualification. They're the non-endorsed parts, and then these non-endorsed parts are, like I said, the training material, the assessment material, and the student learner guides. Any customization of an accredited course must be within the course rules. These rules set out the limits to customization of the course by identifying the units of competency which are essential, so your core units, possible sources of alternate units of competency which may be substituted, and sometimes you can do that. You can move out one unit for another, especially within those elective streams. The type and number of units of competency which may be added or substituted without affecting the overall integrity of the qualification, and the extent to which the units of competency may be modified without affecting the overall integrity of the course, units, or qualification. Quite often they call that allowable adjustments. So in a lot of qualifications, we have a thing called allowable adjustments. They're the things that we can change to help our clients reach their training goal, which helps their workplace. But again, it can't compromise. So just to kind of give you a midway recap, training packages have qualifications. Qualifications have units of competence. Units of competence tell us trainers, which you guys are becoming as of even tonight, what a student must be able to do or produce or understand to be deemed competent for that unit. And how you teach and assess those units of competence is up to you. You just got to make sure that you're doing it right. But again, more about those last two dot points a little bit later. Training packages have qualifications. Qualifications have units of competence. Units of competence let us trainers know what we need to teach people. Doesn't tell us how to teach it, but we know what we have to get our students to do. But we're going to learn about that as we go through the rest of the slides. Cool. Go for it, Al. So, foundation skills. Foundation skills is the term that the Australian government agencies have started to use to cover the Australian core skills framework. These are five core skills, which includes learning, reading, writing, oral communication, and numeracy, plus employability skills. Now, in actual fact, these foundation skills have started to replace what we called employability skills. What is this all about? So what used to happen is this: within those training packages, and within those qualifications, and within those units of competence, we also had these things called employability skills, and they were the things that that the government and the governing bodies said, well, beyond just teaching someone how to, do a particular job, they also need to know these things to be able to interact in the workplace. They've actually changed those now to these foundation skills. And as it says in the second paragraph, foundation skills are the underpinning communication skills required for participation in the workplace, the community, and in adult education and training. Language, literacy and numeracy, or LLNN as it's known, is the traditional way of referring to the ability to speak, listen, read and write in English, and to use mathematical concepts. So we're kind of saying, hey, when someone studies with us and gets through a qualification, or when you as a trainer start to design a course or make a course for your client, we still want you to make sure that you're kind of getting some communication skills in there and some basic mathematics if required for the job, just so these people can leave your training venue and go out and into the workplace and be useful contributors to their workplace. So every learner in vocational education and training has to face LLNN skill challenges that are particular to the industry they are training for. We know that without adequate skills in these areas, individuals often struggle to demonstrate their competence either during the learning program or once in employment. And it's as simple as that. And we know that. You could be the world's cleverest person for that qual. Yeah, go for it, Al. However, if you have real difficulties in communicating with your fellow workers and within the workplace, you're going to struggle. Accredited courses. So beyond these training packages that have qualifications that have units of competence, there's another actual training pathway beyond the Cert 1, Cert 2, Cert 3, Cert 4 types of qualifications, and they're called accredited courses. Accredited courses are developed to meet training needs that are not addressed by existing training packages. A course will not be accredited if it duplicates an existing endorsed training package qualifications or if the outcome can be achieved through the contextualization of a training package qualification. What does that mean? What it means is this. Sometimes workplaces and industries have a training need or a qualification need come up quickly because it's a fast growing area and new machinery or new technology is released. And by the time the wheels of qualifications can get around to it, it'll take too long. And the industry says, no, 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 we need right now in Australia, we need, 20,000 new workers who can do this job. So they come up and quite often they'll use accredited courses to fill that gap quickly. So what happens? The accredited course still goes through all the same quality measures of a full qualification. However, it tends to be more specific to a particular job place or a particular place on earth, so to speak, or a particular industry. So sometimes these accredited courses will only live within a training company. Or not a training company, an actual, industry. So you might work for a mining company, and within that mining company, they have a specialized piece of equipment, and they have had a course accredited for those people to use that machinery. It'll be nationally recognized. It'll actually probably be internationally recognized. And the people who work for them to go machinery will need to go through that accredited course. But it just doesn't happen to live where the other training packages do, where everyone's got access to it. You can go onto the next screen, Al. There is a defined structure to accredited courses, and that includes the descriptor, what the accredited course is all about, the learning outcomes, what a learner should be able to do to demonstrate as a result of successfully completing the accredited course, and the assessment criteria, which is the minimal assessment requirements associated with the accredited course. Contact and resource applications for assessment, considerations required for successful assessments. I'm not going to really go through that tonight. That's for the whole assessment cluster when it comes. But just remembering now for you guys to understand that there's beyond qualifications, there's these other things called accredited courses. Cool. As suggested in the earlier video, if a client comes to you, and obviously you guys haven't seen that video yet, but if a client comes to you seeking an educational outcome for an individual or whole workforce using the vet sector and wanting the award of qualifications linked to nationally recognized qualifications or competencies, you'll be required to search for these training packages, qualifications or accredited courses. And the easiest place to locate these packages is to progress your research. Is really, it's just the first line of information there, www.training.gov.au. So just to recap what that really long first paragraph was meant to be saying to you, it was saying this: once you qualify as a trainer, or during this course, and even with this subject, we're actually going to give you a mock client, a pretend client, saying that this is their training need, and you're going to have to go away and find the qualification that suits best their purpose. And to do that, we visit this www.training.gov.au website, because that is where all the qualifications in Australia lives. It's an online resource where every qualification, every unit of competence, every accredited course can be found. I was actually now going to take you to that website, but we won't for the moment, Alex. We'll wait a little bit longer before we go to training.gov, if you can bring that up. But while this Prezi is sort of working on the screen share, I'm a little bit reluctant to do that. We may just do that at the end. Cool. So we'll move on to the next screen. So all I want you guys to jot down is that training.gov is where all qualifications live and can be found. So training packages and accredited courses have limited lifespans. Obviously, it's an imperative that any training undertaken by people wanting to join or remain employed in a particular job or industry are provided with training relevant and current to that job role and industry. By having sunset clauses on training packages and accredited courses, industry skills councils, which really aren't around much more, and training providers are forced to communicate and work collaboratively on keeping both training packages and accredited courses in line with public expectations. What does all that mean? It pretty much means that it's important that for training companies and for the people that are in charge of qualifications, ensure that those courses keep up to date with industry. There's no benefit to anyone doing courses that produce candidates that are 10 years too old with how the workplace works. So accredited courses usually have a 3-year lifespan unless extension is granted. And that normally means that industry goes back and says, no, we don't need any changes. Don't change this. We're happy with this. The job is still the same as it was 3 years ago or 5 years ago, and don't move it on. Training packages, due to their enormity, don't have specific lifespans. However, 4 to 5 year lifespans tend to be common with the transport and logistics training package that covers our area expertise, as well as the HLT training package and others. In past occurrences, there was usually a 12-month handover from an existing training package to the introduction of a new training package, which includes the qualifications in there. So what happens, guys, within these training packages where all these qualifications live, there tends to be like a 4 to 5 year lifespan. But the funny thing is this: because there is so many qualifications that live within a training package, you have almost like a double, triple snowball situation going on. You have the snowball rolling down the hill that's getting bigger and bigger and changing all the time. Within that, you've got the qualifications. Now, at any stage, those smaller snowballs, so to speak, are spinning and turning and updating themselves within time periods. And sometimes that can even get down to the units of competence that they're being updated and changed. So sometimes they'll say, look, next year is the new training package, and then one particular part of that industry will say, well, no, wait a second, we're still 12 months away from a change in law, or we've got a big change coming 2 years from now, or we had a big change last year. And quite often what happens, even though they timetable an update every 4 to 5 years, it can be 6, 7, 8 years before it actually all happens. And nowadays, or over the last sort of year or so, instead of having a 12-month handover for qualifications and training packages, they've actually handovers. And this qualification that you guys are doing is about to start an 18-month handover itself. So, which is why for a lot of people they're going to do this qual now, because it'll serve you just as good as the new one, but it'll be a lot more easy and straightforward. Thanks, Al. Alrighty, cool. So it is therefore imperative that as a trainer and assessor, you ensure that you're working with the current version of any training package, accredited course, qualification, or unit of competence. The great thing is that is all found on that website, that www.training.gov.au. There's a system in place to help vet trainers easily identify with the latest version of a training package or a unit of competence. For example, a unit of competency has a version control through the last letter in the code. The latest version will have the highest letter. So as you can see on this screen, we have TAEDES401A, which was the first version. Then we had 401B, which was the second version. And now we actually have a 401C, which is the latest and last version for that qualification. To check the version control dates on a package and ensure you have the latest version of any of those, like I said, you go to the training.gov website. Cool, Alex, you can go for it. And what it says whether it's current or superseded or expired. Current means it's the latest version. Superseded means it's going through a handover period, but you can still use it and it is fine. And expired means you shouldn't be teaching it anymore. Competency standards. Alrighty, so just to sort of throw a little bit more info to you, we're nearly done, by the way, guys. So I appreciate your patience with some of the technical difficulties we've had tonight. So with these qualifications, with these training packages that lead to qualifications, that lead to units of competency, we're teaching people things so they can demonstrate what we call competency standards. And in plain English, it's how good they show us that they know how to do something, understand it, and work with it, and whatever the case may be. So competency standards define the requirements for effective workplace performance in a discrete area of work function, activity, or process. They are used as the basis for defining learning outcomes and assessment benchmarks within the vocational education and training sector. Competency standards are expressed in outcome terms. They specify knowledge and skill and the application of that knowledge and skill to the standards of performance required in the workplace. So that's a really important sentence. If I don't get to show you a unit of competency tonight, it's okay because we'll do it on Saturday. And I'll talk to you guys about it being a long weekend and whether you're happy to do this Saturday, but we'll talk about that later. But it's really important to understand that a unit of competency and its competency standards tell us what a student should be able to do and show through a demonstration of them doing the job, answering questions, providing demonstrations, and all that sort of stuff as a result of your teaching. Units of competency and competency standards don't tell us how to teach something. They actually just tell us this is what the student should be able to do once they've partaken in your learning course and your assessment process. And that's really important because that goes back to those non-endorsed products before. The industry said, and people like us say, hey, even though we will all meet the national criteria for qualifications, we want to develop our own courses. We want to make our course the best course it can possibly be and be at the peak of the industry. Other providers will say, no, we just want something that people can get through quickly. They just need a bare minimum. So they allow for that adjustment for RTOs, registered training organisations, and trainers like yourself to be able to contextualise, change those things around and do it how you want to do it, as long as at the end of the day they meet these competency standards. So competency standards have a set format defined by the Department of Education and Training. As previously mentioned, they are also referred to as units of competencies, and competency specifications. There's lots of names for it, but it's pretty much what it is. Thanks, Alex. What is competency? So competency is a consistent application of knowledge and skill to the standard of performance required in the workplace. It embodies the ability to transfer and apply skills and knowledge to new situations and environments. It also includes the following concepts. It comprises the application of specified skills and knowledge relevant to that occupation. So, doing the particular things in a particular way that is required for that job. It makes appropriate reference to required generic and employability skills. So that's that foundation skills these days that people will be able to speak, talk, and walk and work with others within their workplace. It covers all aspects of workplace performance. So as we know, sometimes when we teach someone something, it takes many different things to be able to do that correctly. It takes, you might teach someone how to make something, but whether they make it, being reckless in their behaviour and lazy with their safety or treating a machine rough or whatever the case may be, are all important parts of the job that need to be measured beyond the fact that they make a perfect box every time. That's not good enough. Just be able to make the box is not good enough. They need to be able to demonstrate safety, the right attitude, a thorough knowledge of what goes into creating that box, and all those sorts of things. So that's important. They're a part of the units of competency or what the competency standards are. It can be demonstrated consistently over time and covers a sufficient range of experiences, including those in simulated or institutional environments. So again, what that's just saying is that people, as they go through the learning process, have lots of opportunity to demonstrate that they're good at what they're doing, and whether that's happening in a classroom or the workplace, it's okay. So when analysing a unit of competency, you need to identify the dimensions of competency. The concept of competency includes all aspects of work performance, not only task skills. Being competent means more than performing a skill in isolation. It involves some fairly specific dimensions, which include the task skills, like I said before, but performing specific work tasks at an acceptable level, consistently and over a period of time. Task management skills, which is demonstrating the ability to manage a number of different tasks that make up the work skills within the job. And I can only imagine we have some nurses and even driver trainers in this course, and they would all know about being able to do more than one thing at a time and how important that is in being able to do the job. Contingency management skills, responding and reacting appropriately to work issues and problems, and that's so important. It'd be no good that we teach people how to do a job or a particular task, and the moment something goes wrong, they say, "Oh, sorry, can't do that, wouldn't know what to do." That's not good enough. Job role environment skills, so fulfilling those responsibilities and expectations in different settings, and transferable skills, being able to utilize those skills, knowledge, and skill sets in a range of different situations and contexts. Thanks, Alex. So again, guys, don't get too bogged down with a lot of this information. It's important and it's going to be a part of what you do moving forward. But again, all this stuff will end up referring back to your area of expertise as we move through the course. Now I'm going to explain these units of competency. So as previously identified, units of competency are the initial building blocks to a qualification that live within a training package serving an industry. It is important as a trainer and assessor within the vet sector that you have a clear understanding of the format and structure of a unit of competency. Units of competency are developed by industry to meet the identified skill needs of that industry. Each unit of competency identifies a discrete workplace requirement and includes the knowledge and skills that underpin competency, as well as the language, literacy, and numeracy and occupational health and safety requirements. This is just obviously reinforcing all those things that I've already said. And what you can start to see here, that we're almost in a loop, that everything keeps on coming back to these dimensions of competency and these units of competency and what it requires or takes to train someone to be good at their job, that all these things keep on folding in on one another. Listed below is the basic existing structure of a unit of competency. However, it must be noted that there's a new structure in place. Again, I was actually going to take you through a unit of competency, but given the time and the issues we've had tonight, I think I'm going to leave that for Saturday. If you guys watch the video, it'll take you through that anyway, and certainly the information can be found on the portal, but I'll just go through this, but I'm not going to run you through a unit of competency tonight. So it has a unit descriptor, which sort of tells you what the unit's about. It has these things called the elements performance criteria, which is skills and attitudes required that the student will have to be able to do to demonstrate that they are competent and that they can do that part of the job or that subject, so to speak. And then you've got your employability skills, which is now your foundation skills. And then you've got your range statement, which sort of tells you where they need to be able to do and demonstrate whatever you've taught them. And then there's a thing called the evidence guide, which kind of lets you know, and that's changed a little bit now, the evidence guide, but I'll explain that to you in the next session. And that's kind of where they sort of tell you, as a trainer, this is the minimum things, or as an assessor, these are the minimum things that your students must be able to do for you to tick them off as passed. Thanks, Alex. I'm hoping that makes sense, guys. So, broadly, each unit of competency describes a specific work outcome, the conditions under which it is conducted, the knowledge and skills required to achieve the work outcome to the standard, and the evidence that must be gathered in order to determine whether the activity is being performed in a competent manner. Now, that's important. That last paragraph is so important because what we know as like schoolwork, so whether that's an assignment or the answers to a question or you making or doing something, all those things are actually really deemed as evidence. They are the things that we get you to do as a student so we can gather enough evidence to say that you are competent. Important concept, but we'll go through that as we progress through the course. Thanks, Alex. So it's also important to understand what a unit code is all about. Listed below as a descriptor. I'll only go through this briefly again because I originally had planned that we'd actually go through a unit of competence, but like I said, due to the time constraints, I'll just quickly explain this to you. So each unit of competence, each subject has its own code and name. So for instance, this unit of competence, TAEDES402A, which is design, I'm pretty sure is actually design and develop, it's the use training packages and accredit this particular unit of competence. This is its code, and this is what that code means. It's the TAE signifies that it's from the TAE training and education training package. The DES means it's a part of the design field of the qualification. So within this qualification, we have the DES units, the TAE DES units, which are all to do with designing a course and designing a learning pathway. we have the assessment cluster or the assessment field, which will do with how to make an assessment, how to assess competence and all that sort of stuff. And then you have the delivery part, which is the field that talks about sort of when you get up and deliver the course to people. So you've got TAE DES units, TAE ASS assessment units, and TAE DEL units, which are the delivery units. The 4 in the number tells us that it's a certificate 4-level qualification. The O2 tells you that it's the second subject within the design of the series, design units of the series. You don't have to teach in a sequential order like that they have. So TAE DES 401 doesn't have to be taught before 402. That's okay. We're able to move those around. And the A indicates that it's the first version of the unit code. So this particular unit is called TAE DES 402A, which tells us it's from the Training and Education training package. It's a design unit. It's telling us how to design a course. It's certificate 4 level. So if it was a certificate 1 course, it'd be TAE DES 102A, but it's not, it's a 4. It indicates that, like I said, it's the second in the series, and A is telling us it's the first version and the only version of it. Cool. Thanks, Alex. Those links down below actually take you to really helpful spots, but we're not going to go there tonight. We're almost there, guys. Nearly done. So as a trainer assessor trying to research and deliver a training program to a prospective client, it'll be important, as my screen goes black, important that you can determine what level of qualification is suitable to meet the client's needs. Obviously, a training program that underqualifies or overqualifies participants will have dire consequences in a myriad of ways. You can imagine if a workplace came to you and said, hey, we need this training need, and you underqualified everyone, you wrote a course that was too low, so therefore they were unprepared for the workplace and all got injured and hurt and did a terrible job, that'd be terrible. Likewise, if you overqualified people, that's just as bad, because if you had people doing a course that's way beyond what's actually required for their job, you will lose them as students. There's a thing called the principles of adult learning, which you're going to learn about quickly, and it'll test you yourself. We need to make sure that always that this learning has some relevance to your big goal. And hence why even tonight, when I first started the subject, I wanted to remind you that this first subject won't directly relate to you teaching people down the track, as in the idea of you getting up in front of a classroom and teaching, but it's a really important background to it. Cool. Trying to create relevance. Thanks, Al. So to click on the link below to research that stuff, but we won't go there now because I was going to take you through all the Cert 1, Cert 2, Cert 3, Cert 4 level and all the different qualifications, but I invite you guys to go through that and have a read of that on your own. It's pretty straightforward. It explains all the different qualification levels. And just as a sort of a rough guide, level 1 is the lowest form of qualification. In saying that, what I mean by that is the for people that are going to be, only need to do a little bit of work within a job autonomously by themselves, and they'll have strict supervision and strict guidelines, and won't really need to sort of think for themselves, so to speak. Where you get right up to a doctoral degree, where that's someone who's out there formulating on their own, heavy, the highest of responsibility and whatever the case may be. So, in summary, this presentation we explored some of the basic information in relation to training packages, accredited courses and units of competence. Ensure that you follow up this presentation with any of the learning material found in the student portal. Watch the video, and always feel free to contact us at any stage. Thank you so much for being really patient and putting up with our technical difficulties tonight. Like I said, we apologise. Obviously, we tested all this and it worked perfectly, but as it is with technology, quite often once it comes to the big show, it actually has some difficulties. I think you'll find that we'll go back to the PowerPoint system that we used for these presentations for the webinars in the other courses. The Prezi presentations will still be there. These will still be there in the student portal for you. But otherwise, I thank you so much for participating. Questions, please feel free to fire away and ask.
All attendees are muted. and may
Yeah.
unmute themselves by pressing *6.
So you would have got that message. Alex has given you the ability to unmute yourself and ask a question if you like. Like I said, over the next 12 hours or so, we'll unlock the portal for you. You'll get your welcome email, so you can actually participate in that, and we'll set you all that up, and then we'll move forward towards Saturday. At the same time too, I'll probably speak to you guys tomorrow at some stage about Saturday. It's a long weekend. If it suits you guys to still come in on Saturday morning, we will do that. However, we have got plenty of space within our timetable to absorb missing a week or two. So if you're going away or whatever the case may be, let us know and we can just pick this up next Wednesday. Any questions for anyone? No? Oh, David, you've unmuted. Got a question?
I was going to ask you the question about starting and finish time on Saturday.
Yeah, it's in the timetable. It's 9 till 12 on Saturday. Cool. So if it is, that's what we'll do if it's that. But like I said, it's absolutely positively optional. And like I said, I might get I'll send you guys all out an email tomorrow just to see what the general consensus is. We can take it from there. Not a problem at all.
Thank you.
No worries. Beyond that, everything else is okay? Awesome. Like I said, guys, we'll probably either take a little bit longer to Sarah. No. All right, guys. So like I said, just remember right from the first slide tonight, don't expect yourself to get a whole handle on the system yet. It's going to take a few weeks. Today, and this subject is a little bit generic. It's giving you that background that you need to understand. But as we go through the course, more and more of the subjects will drill back down to your area of expertise, and it'll be more directly related to you in your job role as a trainer in your industry. So just keep that in the back of your mind. It'll become more and more relevant as the weeks progress, but we really need you to get an understanding of this over the next few weeks, which is what we're going to do and what we're here for. Again, thank you so much. I think I'll let you guys go for the night if there's no other questions. You'll see your welcome emails from the portal come up over the next 12 hours or so. Thank you so much. Sorry for the technical difficulties, and we'll speak to you soon.